This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm Evan Jansen. The show is live. It's broadcast from our studios here in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now with the whole show available on demand on our YouTube channel. Now, today the nation is dealing with a fallout after the President's State of the Nation address was disrupted in Parliament last night. We'll have reaction and get a live update from Parliament shortly. Also, we look a bit later at the rise of commercial religion on the African continent. And we'll close today by looking ahead to the Cricket World Cup that starts in Australia and New Zealand tomorrow. But first, let's get the day's news from Katrine Milan.
Well, hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm Katrine Milan, and let's just take a look at those top stories this morning. The presidency says Parliament must take stern action against what it described as unruly behaviour by EFF members during the State of the Nation address last night. Government has condemned the events that saw EFF members forcibly removed from the National Assembly after raising points of order. EFF members delayed the start of the State of the Nation address by repeatedly asking questions about Nkandla. For the first time in the country's democratic history, opposition parties including the DA, UDM and COPE walked out of the Assembly in protest.
People were coming in called by the presiding officers because Parliament could not continue. Now you challenge the authority as another part. You now divert, were they carrying guns or whatever? Supposing dishonorable members in Parliament ban Parliament, we are going to say the police must not come because this is Parliament. That's what the Constitution says.
Economic Freedom Fighters MP Floyd Shivambu last night warned that the EFF will be armed the next time parliamentary protection officers confront them in the chamber. He was part of a group of EFF MPs and supporters dancing and chanting outside of Parliament. Meanwhile, EFF leader Julius Malema says his party may take legal action over the expulsion from the National Assembly last night. Once the president was able to deliver his address, he listed his 9-point plan to grow the economy. This included resolving the energy challenge, revitalizing agriculture and unlocking the potential of SMMEs, amongst other things. Zuma outlined various initiatives to deal with the energy constraints. On the issue of land, Zuma announced that foreigners will no longer be allowed to buy land and that non-residents will only be allowed to lease. Economists have welcomed the decision but have warned that such a move can have unintended consequences.
Government will honour its commitment to give Eskom around 23 billion rand in the next fiscal year.
Now, earlier yesterday, an EFF press conference also erupted in chaos as cracks started showing in the ranks of the Economic Freedom Fighters. EFF MP Andile Mkhwezana was attacked by some of the party members at a Cape Town hotel. He alleged that party leadership wanted to strike a deal to have 7 EFF MPs expelled from Parliament in exchange for not disrupting the SONA. He attempted to address the media, but the press conference ended in chaos when opposing EFF members attacked him and removed his EFF T-shirt.
It was revealed to us that the leadership of the party have gone to the ANC to basically sell the campaign, pay back the money in exchange for doing legal things, in particular to expel 7 members of the party.
It's a culture of criminality. If you don't fear my message and you have nothing to hide, why not allow me to talk to the press?
On to other news, the Municipal Demarcation Board has given residents of Malamulele and any other members of the public concerned about their municipal boundaries 21 days to make submissions. The board is in the process of redetermining municipal boundaries. Malamulele residents have been on a stay away for the past 5 weeks, demanding their own municipality separate from Thulamela. And the 2015 ICC Cricket World Cup has officially got underway following an impressive opening ceremony at the Hagley Park in New Zealand. The event was broadcast to at least 1 billion viewers globally. The tournament starts tomorrow when New Zealand face Sri Lanka at the Hagley Oval. Remember, all those top stories and more are all available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can then also keep up to date on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, back to you.
Thank you very much, Katrine. The morning after, the night before, the President's State of the Nation address was dragged down into chaos last night. EFF members had to be forcibly removed from the House after repeatedly ignoring requests from the Speaker, Balagambete. The DA then also staged a walkout after the presiding officers could not confirm whether it had been police or parliamentary security who had removed the EFF members.
I also order the security officers to please assist.
It was a day of many firsts. The internet jammed inside the House.
The cell phone feed has been jammed. A device has been installed in the Assembly. I would submit to you, Madam Speaker, that this is in direct violation of Section 59(1)(b) of the Constitution.
And when that was finally resolved, more disruptions followed. EFF carried out its earlier threats to pose questions to the President during a State of the Nation address.
When he is going to pay the money in terms of what the public protector has said.
This is not a question session.
We want the President to answer a simple question. When is he paying the money?
You are not raising anything new.
The Speaker ran out of patience and ordered for intervention for the second time in the history of Parliament.
I am asking the parliamentary protection officers to please come in.
A call for calm from veteran MPs.
I think our country is really being torn to pieces. And I think that the struggle for liberation didn't take place for people to play the fool like this with our country.
But another point of order emerged. The DA accused Parliament of using police masquerading as protection officers to eject MPs.
Honourable Maimane, we want to continue.
I'd like clarity on whether those were the police or not the police. I'd like clarity on it.
The official opposition also walked out. Outside, songs and toy-toying by angry MPs. EFF alleges that 7 of their members were injured when they were manhandled outside the Assembly, away from the cameras.
We are going to continue holding this executive accountable. We are going to be part of this Parliament. We are not going anywhere.
Other political parties and civil bodies have also weighed in.
I am, on behalf of the ACDP, very disappointed with what has happened.
I'm very worried about the images going abroad. Investors are watching us.
We have compromised the decorum, the dignity and integrity of the House.
What happened today is what should have happened a long time ago, where rules of parliament are applied to the latter.
The EFF should have raised the issue at the beginning, at the time when they were raising their issues of water and jamming of the signal.
COSATU and the South African National Editors Forum has condemned the jamming of cell phone networks within the National Assembly. It's been described as censorship and an infringement in the dissemination of information. Parliament has committed to look into the matter. Ulilani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
Yeah, it was a turn of events that will be remembered for a long time, not just in this country. Now, for the latest, we cross to our parliamentary studio where our parliamentary reporter, Lucanio Calata, will talk to Cheryl Africa, political analyst from the University of the Western Cape. A very good morning to you, Lucanio. It must feel a little bit like a hangover today, doesn't it?
Eben, good morning. Yes, just slightly so. Just because of the events of last night, we ended up leaving the office well after midnight, and some of us were back here quite early, and now we're here talking to you. But fortunately for me, I don't have to do this all on my own. I am joined by Cheryl Africa, who from the Department of Political Studies at the University of the Western Cape, to talk to us a little bit about what unfolded in the National Assembly last night, and of course its larger implications on South Africa and our democracy. Cheryl, if I can bring you in here.
Morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Hi.
I think let's start off with the issue of the cell phone networks being jammed inside Parliament. Surely in a democracy that is something that should be taboo.
I think it will be definitely raised in terms of the impact on democracy, and I think also just access to information and so on. This is an issue which will be investigated and unpacked. I think just from the citizen side, I think it was very disturbing to at times not be able to see what was happening. So besides the cell phone signal being jammed, there was a time when actually the view was only on the speaker and not what was happening in the House, and that was quite disturbing also.
Would you, the word that has been bandied about is censorship. Does that fall within the definition of censorship?
Look, it could. I mean, I don't want to comment really on that. As I say, this is something that will be unpacked probably quite significantly in the weeks to come. Yeah.
Okay. The cell phone networks were then unjammed. We thought we would then have a State of the Nation address. But before the President could deliver his address, he was interrupted. The EFF made good on their threats to disrupt the State of the Nation address. Just your initial take on that.
Look, as you say, the EFF, they made good on their threats, and it was disturbed for about an hour. And again, that will be unpacked in great detail. I must say, actually, it's, you introduced me as somebody from the University of the Western Cape, and I'm called in to give analysis, as a so-called analyst. But it's actually quite hard for me to talk dispassionately and neutrally about this because, again, from a citizen's perspective, I think it was highly, highly disturbing. And I think that we are actually at a political stalemate, in a sense. I mean, I took the train in because of the congestion, and people on the station even were arguing about it. And I think irrespective of where you sit in terms of your political views, I think ordinary citizens are actually quite devastated by what happened. And it speaks to an erosion of democracy. And I would really say that we need strong political leadership or mature leaders, because I really feel that we are in a stalemate. At the beginning, the President spoke about the need for tolerance and the need for fostering this national unity. Yet it seems that we are more polarized than ever before. And it is quite difficult to see how do we move forward. So, next week we've got all sorts of parliamentary events where there's a response and then the President has to respond and so on. And how do we actually get out of this? Just listening to the conversations, people were saying how people from overseas viewing what's been happening. The other part of it is, if this is our elected leaders and they are meant to set an example and they ask for a social contract, so help save energy, work with the police, do all these things across the spectrum, political leaders ask for that kind of cooperation from citizens. Yet when citizens view and see this is what's happening at the highest levels, what kind of negative effect does that have, and how does it seep back into the national psyche?
Who's then supposed to take the lead in trying to resolve the stalemate that you're talking about?
Look, I think it seems like it's almost an intractable mess. And when one is in an intractable mess, one almost needs, elder council of the wise, something like that. The reality is that the ANC is the majority party. And I think certainly there needs to be a lot of introspection which is done. But all stakeholders, all political leaders, the problem is I don't have an easy answer to say who should take the lead, because we're all embroiled in this mess. And I think it's for each stakeholder to actually introspect and see how do we untangle ourselves.
All right. The issues of the EFF and the disruptions were then moved outside of the National Assembly, and the President finally got the opportunity to deliver his State of the Nation address. Your overall impression of that?
Look, he mentioned his 9-point plan, and he touched on, for example, issues like energy, which was very important, agriculture, minerals, transport, all of those things. Those things are critically important. It's a good starting point. The problem is that I think the substance was overshadowed power, what we've just been talking about. And the other problem is that often we place too much in the State of the Nation address. You know, we all view it through our own perspective. So business views it in a particular way, Labour views it in a particular way, and we have all these expectations, and then we are dissatisfied when everything can't be dealt with. And I think, you know, we're very good at mounting a critique against the State of the Nation address, but again, we need to locate ourselves within that critique. You know, I was listening to Mark Haywood on SAFM talking about citizens getting involved. And, you know, we're not just citizens. We are members of school governing bodies. We work for companies. We belong to churches and other religious organizations, mosques, etc. And all those institutional actors need to say, how do we locate ourselves in the critique that we are making, and what can we do to actually deal with the issues that we're raising?
So essentially, it's not just up to government then to implement whatever the president says in the State of the Nation address, but it's up to us as workers, as employees, as employers to see how we can realize that.
It is, but leadership cannot abscond from their responsibility. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are many issues which are outside of the control of ordinary people and various institutional actors, and there we do need a lead. And as I say, we all need to introspect, but there is a role, there is this need for social partnership. But the problem is that social partnership can't happen, or it would be very difficult to happen, where the leaders that our taxpayers' money, is paying to lead us, actually is giving us that very, very poor example.
All right. Ma'am, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have.
Thank you.
Eben, Cheryl Africa from the Department of Political Studies at the University of the Western Cape, unpacking to us what happened in the National Assembly last night, and also talking about how we need to find, as employers, as employees, how we need to help government actually implement the State of the Nation address in our daily activities. Eben.
Lukhanyo, thank you very much for closing the book on the politics that went on last night. Time now for us to do our special SONA Fashion Police segment. Yes, before all the chaos erupted, there was the red carpet, the music and all the glitz and the glamour as MPs and guests arrived at Parliament. Now, we are joined today by Craig Jacobs, Fundutsi fashion designer, to take a look at some of the looks and give us his thoughts on, well, the important bit, the fashion, really. Craig.
I was going to say police isn't necessarily the right word to use. Police is the wrong word.
Police is definitely the wrong word to use. Let's call it the fashion security segment.
There we go.
Okay. Tell us your best look, or if we have a look at some of the looks. I actually think my favorite suit last night was the president himself. I love that blue suit. I think it was really a well cut, and he wore it very well with a very nice, what do you call that tie?
Well, you know what, it's quite interesting. He was very dapper last night, and he's obviously done his trend research because according to Pantone, the color for 2015 is masala, and he was wearing a masala colored tie. So he's on trend. And for me, my favorite, though, of the night was Thobeka Mabhida, who I thought she looked really classy. You've seen in the past our First Ladies not really doing things appropriately for the occasion. And Thobeka was very much, I loved her monotone look. She also pushed the envelope a little bit because in terms of protocol, a First Lady is not supposed to show her arms.
Yes.
And yeah, but I think she pulled it off really nicely. I think she's giving Michelle Obama a run for her money with that outfit.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought she was very statuesque. And she did it fantastically well. But my pick of my look of the day, and I think the man who set the tone and who had the right message at Parliament was Mangosuthu Buthelezi. I really love the outfit. I think and with all respect, I think for a man of his age, he looked very well put together. And that thing in his head, Craig, that was not the cell phone jamming device that everyone is alluding to on social media. It's actually a sign of royalty because that is Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi right there, and I thought he looked fantastic. What do you make of it?
No, I agree with you completely. I always love what Mangosuthu Buthelezi wears. He is quite stately, but undisputably African at the same time. And yes, the Luri feathers to reflect his royal background. That Yeah, I mean, most people didn't get that, though, so that's why you can't...
They didn't get it because he was talking about poppycock, and that was not the bird, it was lory feathers, not poppycock feathers that he was wearing in the hair. But let's move on and talk about the couples, power couples that we saw there. Which were the ones that grabbed you? Yellow. Now, last year, yellow was not the color. Last year there was a lady that had a yellow outfit on that she burnt this week. That was Tandile Sunduza. For those of you, what do you make of the yellow this year and this couple shot?
I do think, you know what, I mean, I do like the yellow. I think yellow is a great color, and this is a little bit more sophisticated than last year, although I do think that Rachel Tambo, it's more for like kind of, I don't know, a Viennese ball as opposed to the opening of Parliament. I do love Mandla Mandela and his wife's outfit.
That's sort of pageantry, isn't it? So that embracing heritage and culture and just a sense of Napoleon, I would think.
No, yes, well, there is a little bit of with the epaulets on the shoulder.
Tell me, let's move on, because the one party that stood out was the DA, all dressed in black. Mm-hmm. It was a rather sad state of affairs, I found. I thought it was a little bit unnecessary, really, and you know, Auntie Helen looked like she was at a funeral.
Well, I must say, she did look like a lady in mourning, but she looked a lot more sophisticated than what she looked like last year. I think black probably suits her a lot better.
Well, a lot of people, there were lots of comments about her hair. What do you make of the hair? What is it, a twirl? What is this new thing? It's not the GHD, it's the thing that puts the soft curls in. What do you call that thing?
I'm not sure what it's called.
Oh, I'm not an expert, but I saw she had that one out. I only know that because, you know, my wife extorted 1,000 rand out of me to get that thing. So that's kind of what I thought. The twirl is what I call it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Auntie Helen did okay. But that's where we have to wrap it. Your overall views of what transpired in Parliament?
I think, overall views in terms of fashion is we've come a long way from like kind of those really hectic outfits of the past, and especially the hectic outfits of last year. I think people are starting to understand how to dress appropriately for the occasion. So well done to our parliamentarians. And it
is a big occasion. It's a wonderful occasion. It was marred last night by some unruly behavior, but that will... Let's hope that does not detract from the great occasion that it is for our nation. Craig, thank you very much for joining us today and giving us your views. Well-informed views, I have to say. Well, what are you saying? Let's have a look at some of your tweets. Tweets, not twirls, tweets. Remember, at SABC Newsroom is where we are. Peter Mashady says, by the way, we're not expecting a congratulatory note from the opposition and the media for defending the honour and order of Parley. SONA 15, hashtag. Tony Lopez woke up and popped my head out the window to see if South Africa is burning yet. Still a little bit over the top, Tony. It wasn't so bad, actually. Pronounced Reagan says, we're not a healthy country and it's frightening because it's going to reach a very critical breaking point. That's just my take. Hopefully that is just your take, Reagan. We've missed that one. Now for the tweet of the day. Let's take a look at the tweet of the day within the context. Today's tweet comes from Kayam Tetwa. Says, freedom without responsibility is a problem. Hashtag SONA 15. This is a disaster. I'm so embarrassed. Yes, we share that. Freedom without responsibility will always be a problem in every democracy in the world. Let's now take a look at what's happening across the country today. In the High Court, sitting in Palm Ridge in Johannesburg, the trial of former Grand Slam tennis champion Bob Ewer, who faces 2 charges of rape and 1 of indecent assault, will continue. Some earth-shattering testimony happening there. So stay on this channel. We'll update you later. Then ANC member SABC Squatcher and member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, Leila Khalid, have started briefing the media. We stay in the mother city. The South African Jewish Board of Deputies have also started protesting against Leila Khalid's visit to South Africa in Spin Street in Cape Town. Time for us to take a short break. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News.
This week we are taking you around the continent, telling you stories about what makes Africa, Africa.
We now head to the Kenyan coast, where we meet a man using needles to fight a growing drug culture.
A recent study revealed that there are 850 drug addicts in Diani alone, with over 220 using injectable drugs such as heroin.
In my community, I've seen a lot of these people suffer.
The Journal, every Saturday at 1:30 on SABC News.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom. There's no denying that the tides of Christianity have turned many ways over many decades on the African continent. Critical trends in social, political and spiritual spheres have had a number of implications for the church's mission in Africa. Christianity has in many ways turned into big business and has also become entangled in politics. Christian pastors don't have a direct say in the running of any country, but their membership is often bigger than that of the ruling political parties in a variety of countries. How much power do they really hold? Well, joining us today is the author of the book Connect with the Continent, Terry Bean. Terry, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Quite heavy subject matter we've got this morning, Terry, but you travel throughout the continent. Tell us your views on what we see as the rise of commercial religion, commercial Christianity in a way on the African continent?
Well, depending on the view you take, I mean, these guys are called either prosperity preachers or my favorite term is pastorpreneurs, which is a mix of sort of pastoring and entrepreneurship. It's a mega industry. I mean, you only have to sit inside some of these churches to see how big the congregations are. And some of the facilities themselves are bigger than football stadiums.
We've seen with a building collapse in Nigeria where South Africans died, suddenly a keen focus here in South Africa on these kind of pastorpreneurs, as you call them. I quite like that one because we've got the tenderpreneur thing in South Africa, so it sort of links with that. How do Africans in general view the work of these men and women? It seems as if there's a massive following and an increasing following on the continent. Why do you think that is?
Views are divided. I mean, those that follow the church and follow the evangelical preaching of a lot of these individuals, the following is absolute and it is significant. It is massive, and they have built significant industries around that. There are those that also just don't buy the hype. They believe the miracles and the preaching is really a means of gathering wealth. That's one school of thought, but there is a definite school of thought that those that attend the church and follow those religious leaders, that they are all-knowing and they really have significant influence and power.
And psychic ability, and they can cure cancer and all sorts. Here we have a guy, he's called himself Dr. H.Q. Nala. He's from KwaZulu-Natal. He sells holy water for 10 or 12 rand a bottle, holy honey and the like. And all his followers, they invest in these kinds of things because it cures everything from cancer, I would think, to giving you the lotto numbers and that sort of thing. That's how deep it really goes. Tell us about the commercial side of these pastors. How do they make money? Is it a question of them selling holy water, selling holy honey, special prayers, miracles, as we see here, that kind of thing?
It's a combination of things, even. I think just the basic infrastructure is built around something called tithes. So you usually commit 10% of your gross revenue to the church on a monthly basis or on an annual basis. And in certain countries, that is tax-free. So it is quite a lucrative cash inflow in terms of the business. But also what they're providing is specific prayers in specific areas. I mean, there'll be prayers. A lot of it is around prosperity, around looking at the Bible and preaching the prosperity aspects of the Bible, and I think that's quite a positive thing. but there are some darker aspects of it where they'll want to talk about certain prayers for women who want to keep their husbands, or for a lady who wants to find a new husband, or for a gentleman who wants to get a tender.
Yes.
That's a factor of it. But what's most interesting is we don't look at them as individuals, we look at them as institutions and as enterprises.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the gentlemen that we've worked with and seen in these markets, there's some really heavyweight names, like Pastor Chris Oyakilomi. And they have churches in about 22 different countries. They run 3 24-hour TV channels. There's a radio station. There is a social media network. Rhapsody of Reason, which is one of their publications, has a bigger circulation internationally than that of The Economist. So this is not an individual preaching in a particular location. This is a mega industry that kind of incorporates all the facets of a global conglomerate.
Why are they so successful on the continent? Is it a scenario that we like to believe a little bit more on the continent? I've got a friend of mine who says in Africa we are abnormally religious. Is that a fair statement?
I think we're abnormally aspirational. So there's a combination of two distinct things that sort of come together. The first thing is a strong belief in many countries and many parts of many countries in Christianity. That's a good thing. And then you have the desire for tomorrow to be better than today. And those two things combined fit into the sort of prosperity preaching side of things. And the belief is that if I connect with the church and the church is talking to me, or God is talking to me through these individuals, that I'm going to grow and prosper. And there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that message. When you have in certain places churches, one run by a group called Winners Chapel, and Winners Chapel, I think in the Guinness Book of Records, has the largest place of worship on the planet. It's a 50,000-seater church. There is a runway at the back of the church that houses 3 or 4 of Pastor David's Lear jets. He flies in, delivers his service, turns around and goes on to the next state to do another service in another part of the country. So the belief is there. It's sort of mass audience preaching.
Finally, the opportunities there seems to be endless. We now call it the faith-based sector, I think. Is that where it's heading, a sort of industrial, commercial scenario?
Very much so. I mean, there's some big growth areas continentally. We talk about the 3 big growth areas as being football, kids, and God. And God being in the sort of, the Christian, or the commercialization of Christianity aspect. It's certainly growing. People are connecting to the churches very strongly. They are engaging with them. The church is providing services to them as well. But there's a lot of opportunity for businesses to engage with them in terms of providing financial services, products, a whole range of different things. So it is an absolutely fundamentally strong part of many beliefs and many societies across the continent.
Terry, very, very interesting. I hope in your travels you will come across this in the year to come and give us some more of your views, because it's a very interesting and something that's very passionately followed on the African continent. Thanks for joining us. That's Terry Bean, who's the author of Connect with the Continent. He'll keep us updated on his travels throughout the continent on a sort of weekly basis as to where in the world is Terry, is what I would like to call it. Anyhow, let's have a look more now at some of your views. Of course, today it's all about chaos in Parliament. This is about what happened before Parliament. Of course, Andile Mnitama. Sir Andile, no individual is bigger than the movement. I'm highly disappointed in you. Why are you killing your political career? Because, he says, he is a real revolutionary. Enoch Mashile says, Comrade Mnitama is clearly not batting for our team, the EFF. Who is batting for the EFF, one would ask. Floyd Chivambu says, fact, when the vehicle for economic freedom changes the gear and accelerates the speed, staff riders fall off and some get injured, says Floyd Chibambo. Those are some of the views on Andile Mnitama, of course. Yesterday he was attacked by his own party at a press conference in Cape Town. Now, today's picture of the day, my pick of the day. This one comes from our head of news here, who took the picture at Parliament yesterday. That is a beautiful new sculpture. I think one of the highlights of yesterday was one of my favorites, Walter Sisulu, Tata Walter and Mama Albertina standing proud outside Parliament now. I think it's a fantastic addition to the parliamentary precinct. Time for us to take a short break. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News.
zoom into Africa. This is Algeria. The president is Mr. Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Algeria got independent from France on 3 July 1914. The population is more than 36 million people. One of the major languages spoken is Arabic. Monetary unit is dinar.
Well, hello and welcome back here with Newsroom on SABC News. Let's just take a look at those top stories this morning. The presidency says Parliament must take stern action against what it described as unruly behaviour by EFF members during the State of the Nation address last night. Government has condemned the events that saw EFF members forcibly removed from the National Assembly after raising points of order. EFF members delayed the start of the State of the Nation address by repeatedly asking questions about Mkandla. For the first time in the country's democratic history, opposition parties including the DA, UDM and COPE walked out of the Assembly in protest. Economic freedom fighters MP Floyd Shivambu last night warned that the EFF will be armed the next time parliamentary protection officers confront them. He was part of a group of EFF MPs and supporters dancing and chanting "Pay back the money." Meanwhile, EFF leader Julius Malema says his party may take legal action over the expulsion from the National Assembly last night. And the Municipal Demarcation Board has given residents of Malamulele and any other members of the public concerned about their municipal boundaries 21 days to make submissions. The board is in the process of redetermining municipal boundaries. Malamulele residents have been on a stay away for the past 5 weeks, demanding their own municipality separate from Thulamela. Remember, all those top stories and more are all available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can then also keep up to date on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Eben, back to you.
Thanks, Katrin. Now, the opening ceremony of the 11th edition of the ICC Cricket World Cup kicked off yesterday at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia. The spectacular show, held once every 4 years, will see participation of 14 cricketing nations competing for the coveted World Cup. Tournament co-host New Zealand also staged an opening event on the same evening in Christchurch. South Africa's cricket squad left last in the quest to win the World Cup for the first time. With all the formalities done and dusted, the focus will from tomorrow fall on the playing field now. Now, former cricketer and Proteas coach Eric Simons joins us live from Cape Town in our Sea Point studios. Good morning, Eric. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
It's been a long 18 months to get to this point. Just give us your views of this long wait. It's going to be a very, very difficult 6 weeks, I think, for South Africans.
It's always a big build-up to a World Cup. One likes to think that every tournament we play and every match we play in is well prepared for. But unfortunately, I suppose in some ways, World Cups are a pinnacle of so many careers and such a big status event for not only cricketers but for a country itself. So it has been a tremendous build-up. It's been a long period of time of focus. But I do get a sense the team is well prepared. I get a sense we've gone there as prepared as we've ever been, and we've said that so many times. But I get a good feel about our boys this time around, I must say.
We've seen a wonderful opening ceremony yesterday. A.B. de Villiers, of course, spoke very well there. Tell us about the difference between playing in New Zealand versus playing in Australia.
Australia would definitely suit our makeup better. The wickets in Australia are quicker, there's more bounce. It suits the way we bat and the way we bowl, I believe. The wickets in New Zealand generally will be slower. Our first game is in Hamilton, and it's against Zimbabwe, so it'll be a good time to get into the tournament. But certainly, I think we prefer the wickets that come onto the bat more, that have a bit more pace, not only from the way that we bat, but as I said, the way we bowl too. And then also in New Zealand, the fields have got strange shapes. Some of them are quite small, shorter boundaries, and anything that changes a situation like that brings teams together. I think we're a quality side, and we want to have good cricket played on good grounds. So the bigger MCGs, Sydney ground, Adelaide even, I think will suit us a lot better in Australia than New Zealand.
The South African cricket team, the makeup, people talk about how it's the best possible team that we can send there. Is there maybe one or two guys that you would have liked to see there? Maybe a guy like a little bit more pace with a Marchant Langa, a bit experienced with a Robbie P, or are you happy with a squad that's there, that this is a squad that can win it for us?
I do think we've got a good side. I think obviously there's always players that are very unlucky not to have made it. And that happens with any World Cup, and every team will feel that. I don't think there's someone that's been left behind that dramatically would have improved the strength of our team. I think the big question we're going to have is finding the right combination, finding that person at number 7 that bats and bowls, the one that does both for us. Do we go with a bowling heavy lineup, or do we back our batters and play someone like Bahadin to bowl some overs and use what we can? Obviously JP's back, and that makes a big difference. But that's going to be the call. I don't think that there's a name that stood out and has screamed "pick me" that would have done it for us in that respect. So I think we've got a good balance. As I said, you don't know where you're going to be playing the crucial matches. You could be playing in a knockout game in New Zealand, and then you need bowlers that don't have pace, that take the pace off the ball. So you have to have that balance. So I think they've done well with the squad to cover all the bases.
A guy that's taken a lot of criticism and some of it really unfounded has been Wayne Parnell. You've mentioned the number 7 position. Do you think that he might be the one guy who could be lacking a little bit of confidence, or working with a guy like Charles Langeveld the last couple of weeks? Do you think that could help him with the breakthrough that I think he would want and South Africa would want?
I think Wayne, look, he's been a match winner on different occasions, but I think what we've lacked from him is consistency. I think what he's lacked from himself is consistency, and I think that does come with confidence. I know that through his career he's been in and out of the side a lot, and people have commented on that. But I've been in a situation where as a coach you are selecting a team, and I always try and tell the players that essentially you select yourself. You are your own selector, and if you give us the performances and if you give us the confidence, we want to play you. So I think it's going to be a groundbreaking tournament for Wayne, and we'd love to see him come through. We'd love to see him, even if he bats at a position like 8, but gives your top 7 real confidence. It makes a big difference when your top order have got confidence in the boys down the low order from a batting perspective, and then again from the consistency of the death bowling. If he gives his captain more options, because remember the captain's got to make sure he's got bowlers to bowl at crucial times in the power play and at their depth. And if he's got that confidence in his player, it means that he can play around with things a lot more at the top order. Maybe use Dale Steyn for a little longer if he feels he can take wickets, if he has confidence in someone like Wayne Parnell. So it's important for someone like him to step up and play that role.
We see on screen now some player profiles of, here we have got the Indian captain, MS Dhoni. You've, of course, worked with the Indian team. They've won the World Cup while you were there. Tell us about the group that we are in and getting out of this group. Some say it won't be that difficult, but it's never that easy when you've got great sides like India, Pakistan, and the like in your group.
Yeah, it's the old saying, to be the world champions, you've got to beat the best, and that's what it's about. So we shouldn't fear anybody, and I don't think we need to fear anybody. I don't think the conditions suit India particularly well. I'm a big fan of MS Dhoni. I've said that on many occasions. I think he uses his resources very well. But I really can't see us stumbling on the way to at least the quarterfinals. But then it becomes knockout and anything happens. It's quite ironic because it depends also again where you end up playing in your quarterfinal. Because again, as I said, the ground that probably suits us the best is the MCG. But we could end up top and playing in Wellington, and then do we play New Zealand in Wellington, which is you can't manage those things, but you have to just get through this first phase and then take on what comes. But I can't see us not getting through these. There's a number of games you can stumble and still make it. So I think we're a quality enough side to certainly get through the first round and into the knockout phases, and then it's going to be a lot about key men on the day, I think for both sides. But I think if I list our match winners, more than anybody else, we've got a list of guys that can step on a day, and you need that in knockout competitions, in knockout phases, to have options, and I think we've got a lot of options to win the game. So I'm quietly confident.
The biggest match winner of them all, of course, AB de Villiers. Do you think AB de Villiers needs to put in a player of the tournament a kind of performance in order for us to win this World Cup?
It's to me, and one hates to say it because it adds pressure, but it could be about the AB de Villiers tournament. It could be about him stepping up and being magical, because he has got everything. You know, a lot of players. You got a Chris Gayle that has to play the boundary game. You got other players like the old Mike Hussey that knocks the ball around. And AB de Villiers is one of the most complete in terms of what he offers. So he is going to be absolutely crucial to us, I've absolutely no doubt. But the same as with Wayne Parnell. What he needs guys around him to fire, which gives him the freedom to be the player that he can. If he doesn't have confidence in the boys around him, it puts more and more pressure on him, and he feels exactly what you say, that I have to perform for us to win. If he doesn't do that, if he doesn't feel that, it releases him to be the player that he can. So it's crucial that Hashim, that Quinton de Kock, that JP, that Miller, whoever plays, are playing with confidence and playing well, and then he will see him kick to another level, which is exactly what we need. It's all about confidence, and we need to give each other those confidence. His statistics are incredible. His ability, we'll talk endlessly about that knock against the West Indies, but when one watches that knock technically and what he actually did, I think you then start to appreciate how good a player he really is.
I want to move on and talk about this weekend now, Eric, as we sort of almost start to conclude. There's a lot of good cricket on this weekend. Of course, the old rivalry, Australia, England. You've got New Zealand, Sri Lanka, us against Zimbabwe. But your pick will probably be India against Pakistan. They expect that to be the most watched game in the history of cricket. What do you make of that?
It was. I always tell a funny story. When we were involved with the World Cup with India, we played against Pakistan in the quarterfinals, and a few people said to us, "You can lose the World Cup, but you have to beat Pakistan." And I think people understand and appreciate the rivalry between Pakistan and India, and that's why it will be so watched. So it's always great when you have those endless history of competition. And I think of the next 8 weeks, we're going to have incredible games left, right, and centre. It's going to be coming to us some tremendous clashes. So it's a case of which one to watch. But certainly from my side, it'll always be a little bit of more interest when I watch some of my old friends in India playing, and particularly when it's Pakistan, because I know how strong that rivalry and that history is.
I want to talk, England are playing against Australia this weekend, and Australia, of course, as they do, they've installed themselves as the favourites for the tournament. What do you make of that? What do you make of that confidence? And then just give us a sort of punch on the game. What's your expectation?
It's the Australian psyche. They like to be front runners. They like to try and dominate. They like to try and impose themselves on the opposition, and one expects that. I do think they have too much firepower for England, to be honest. They are one of the favourites. They're playing at home. They know their conditions. They've got some really explosive players, but I think there are holes in their makeup. I think that they need certain players to fire well. But like for example, one of the players they got is Falconer. I think he's the one we lack. That person down the order that gives you top order confidence, that bowls as well. But he's going to win a few games for them. In this particular game, I would be surprised to see England come through. I think Australia have too much firepower, and I don't think England have quite got their identity yet. I don't think they quite understand themselves as a team yet. They've lost Cook. Let's not talk about KP, who gave them some sense of shape and identity. So I think that they're still trying to find themselves. They've got some good players. Moeen Ali's a good player. Bell's a good player. The captain's a good player. They've got a decent opening attack. Whether they've got enough firepower, I would certainly be backing Australia to pull through in this one.
Eric, fantastic. Thank you for your wonderful insights and joining us today. That's former Protea coach, one of the greats of the game here in South Africa, Eric Simons, giving us his view on the World Cup. And it's the same view that all of us have. We've got a good feeling that South Africa might win this weekend. It's Friday, baby. Symphonic Tribes is a musical group that believes house music heals and massages our souls. They also believe that tranquility and a peace of mind is achieved when one is, embarking on things they enjoy doing the most. Today, this musical group is here in studio with us to show us what they enjoy doing the most. It's Friday, baby. Symphonic
Chini chinisanenge, 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 chinisanenge. Munga chavi chumu man, yo china nyamunta. Sakile magamba mina, ati ntombi tiona la. China inkwelu man, chinisanenge, 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 Nyamunta, akuyeteliwe nyamunta. Chinisanenge la, tusakila mateki. Ya, ina machitamina, ni macheri, ingwa kukona la. Yopuza, yotsaka, yochina.